Hey, so my name is Kelly. Yes, I'm laying down. I have a horrible cycle. Yes, the pillowcase is not on the pillow. Yes, I'm in my nightgown. Um, I want to start off by with a disclaimer, which is that I never intended on posting this video because I didn't want any more harassment, drama, however you want to word it, than I've already had since all of this started. I'm gonna take it back to, I guess, the beginning to give a bit of insight. So around December 2011, my mom had asked me what I wanted for Christmas. And at the time, Paramore, my favorite band, was on the cover of Alternative Press magazine. And so I said to my mom, that's what I want for Christmas. And after I got the magazine, I was flipping through it and I seen an advertisement for an album called The Ascent. It was a debut. It was an album advertisement for a debut album by a band called Secrets. And so I was like, okay, I'll check this out. The album logo looks pretty interesting and I like the colors. So I went to the Facebook page and listened to, I think there was a poll where it was like, which do fans prefer, the song Melodies or the song Blindside? And it was like a short demo version of each. And I listened to both and I loved both, but Melodies really clicked with me. And so I listened to it. I became a fan. And their music got me through some really difficult times in my life. And I remember back when the website Stickam was still a thing, Secrets used to go live on there. And I would go in the chat room, and one of the times I went in the chat room, I want to estimate there were 8,000 to 10,000 people in there, and this was when the band still had the original lineup, so Xander was still in the band. And I remember every time, even with that many people in the room, in the chat room, and me not even being able to be on camera because my camera was broken at the time, every question I would ask, they would answer, which I thought was really cool. And then at one point, I typed in the message, I was like, LOL, I bet you guys won't even be able to pronounce my name correctly because I spell it Kelleigh. You just put the Kel and the Lee together. And all of them at the same time, like, they said my name, they pronounced it correctly, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna love these guys. Not literally love them, but you know what I mean. And so, not long after that, I got a friend request and a message from Xander, and he had found me from the Stickam chat. And at first I thought I was being like pranked or something. Like, there's no way somebody in a band that's signed to Rise Records, which to me was, a major record label. I was like, there's no way anybody in this band is messaging me. But it turns out it was actually him. And so the first time I went to see them, it was at Green Street in Greensboro, North Carolina. And yes, this was when it was still a venue and not a nightclub. I remember while I was waiting in line, the show sold out. They were opening for Sleeping with Sirens, who, back in 2012, they were massive, especially for a venue of that size. It was standing room only. There was a balcony, but it wasn't a particularly big venue. And so while I was waiting in line, it sold out, which young me could have never predicted it would have sold out in advance, but I guess I should have. And so I'm walking down the sidewalk because I'm really upset, because I'm like, I came and I'm not even get I'm not even gonna get to enjoy the show because it's sold out. So anyways, I'm walking, and Xander walks out the side door, and he's talking to me, and I explained to him what happened, and he lets me come in the side door with him. So I went, apparently they had just played, so I missed their set, but I got to hang out with them at their merch table and whatnot and talk to them. And then, and so since I'm already at 5 minutes 30 seconds, I'll fast forward to after Xander left the band. Yes, he left to get sober, but there were other things that I'm not gonna discuss here because that's not the point of the video. But he had confided in me as to why he left. I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus because they're not even in the band anymore. But anyway, so he had explained to me why he had really left and all of that. And we stayed friends. At one point, I was raped, and he was one of few people who believed me, let alone talk to me, tried to be a friend to me, tried to stand up for me, tried to defend me, which was rare. I dealt with quite a lot of harassment back then. But anyways, again, not the point of the video. There was a guy who had joined the band named Michael Owens. At first he was a temporary bassist, but then he became a permanent bassist. And I know that he had been in a band or bands, Travelers or something, prior to Secrets with Richard. So I'm guessing it was Richard who, was like, who vouched for him. And at first, Michael seemed very nice. I remember the first time I met him, he already knew of me from the internet, and he had asked me if I was going to see them on their next tour. And I was like, well, to be honest with you, it's all the way in Atlanta. It's the closest you're coming, which is like 5.5 hours away, so I'll try my best, but, no guarantees. And so Michael was like, well, for you coming that far, I'll have you guest listed. And I was like, you don't have to do that, but, if you do, that's really awesome. Thank you for offering. So as time went on, I would message him ever so often, be like, hey, were you able to get me on the list? And different times he would say he was working on it, and then a few different times he said yes. So the day of comes, I get to the venue, and I go up to the girl, I give her my name, I explain to her that I should be on the guest list for Secrets, and she looks at me like I'm crazy, like I'm a groupie or something. And so I have to call my mom, who had dropped me off because I didn't have a car, and I had to call my mom, explain to her what had happened, ask her to come back so I can get some money out of the car so that I can pay for a ticket. And then I go in, and I explained to Xander what happened. He apologized. He said, if you would have went through me, this wouldn't have been an issue, because Xander actually had guest listed me before, because I had went all the way to Norfolk to see him on a particular tour, because that's the closest that they came. But anyways, Xander apologized, and Michael acted like everything was fine, which I thought that was weird, because I'm like, this seems intentional. So after the show, I messaged him, and I was like, what happened? And he said something like, the manager at the last minute they only had one, like, guest list spot left, and their manager took it or whatever. And so I'm like, okay, fine. Like, my feelings were hurt, but I didn't think much of it, so I just kind of tried to brush it off. And then the next time I seen them was Warped Tour 2013, and again, Michael, he acted like everything was fine. And then fast forward to There was a tour where they were opening with Johnny Craig. It was Souls on Fire, Johnny Craig solo tour, and it was in October, or my date was in October, and so there were two members in the band, Joe and Sherman. They both had birthdays in October, and the tour was in October, and so I wanted to do a nice thing for them for their birthdays. So I had a surprise planned, and the only person that I'd been talking to about it was Michael Owen. So like it was my understanding that he was in on the whole thing, and so I was kind of coordinating with him, and then I made a trip to the venue. I had to leave, and then I came back like after I'd set stuff up for the birthday. And the second time I come back, the manager or the venue owner or whatever at Green Street was like, haven't you heard? The show just got canceled. And I was like, no, I haven't heard. And he was like, yeah, the show was canceled because Johnny Craig had to have emergency dental surgery or whatever. And I was like, well, why can't the rest of the bands play? And he explained that because Johnny was the one headlining, that I guess it was up to him and his team if the rest of the show went on. And so